Namo Nama. My name is Aadya Kumar and I'm from Irving, Texas. Today, I'll be presenting my research on the various reference to clothing, jewelry, and adornments in ancient India as gleaned from Vedic literature. Mankind's quest to learn about its origin and history has led to quite a few archaeological findings in the Indus Valley civilization. However, there's a lot we have yet to uncover in terms of literary evidence to help us chart the course of human history. Sources such as Vedic literature, accounts by foreign visitors, and archaeological artifacts have been referenced to gather deeper understanding into this rich, ancient culture. This research focuses on parts of ancient literature that describe the nature of clothing, jewelry, footwear, makeup, and hair accessories to estimate if there's a continuity of these aspects of the ancient society in today's culture. History books claim that the Indus Valley civilization came before the Vedas, Ramayana, and Mahabharata. However, my research revealed some serious inconsistencies in this sequence of events. Based on the archaeological data and artifacts found at the excavation sites of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, historians have placed the peak of the IVC at, Historians have placed the peak of the IVC at around the 3rd to 2nd millennium BCE. Vedic literature is believed to have been compiled in the post-Harappan period, with the Rig Veda being the oldest. The Rig Veda is believed to have come into existence around 1500 to 1200 BCE, followed by the other three Vedas a few centuries later. However, are the Vedas really only this young? Vedic literature there seems to be a vast disagreement in the historian community regarding the occurrence of the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. The Ramayana is believed by some to have been authored around the 5th century BCE, while the Mahabharata is thought to have been written around the 4th century BCE. Very little archaeological evidence exists from both of these eras, although enormous literary evidence exists within these texts. The Indus Valley civilization, first discovered by Charles Masson in 1829, was stripped of its upper layer of bricks by the East India Company's army to build a road. However, under Sir John Marshall as the Director General of the Archaeological Survey of India, a large-scale excavation of the IVC revealed the cities of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro. Over the course of time, other cities and many artifacts were discovered. Spindles and pulleys made of clay, stone, metal, wood, and terracotta have been recovered from multiple sites. The Great Hall at Harappa is believed to be a large textile storage place. The green stained stilt is similar to traditional indigo pits from Sindh, indicating that it was possibly used to dye fabric. Small fragments of cloth preserved in the corroded remains of metal objects show that Harappans wove a variety of grades of cotton. A large number of needles have also been recovered from the ruins, indicating that stitched and fitted clothing were common in addition to draped, unstitched fabrics. Several artifacts have been recovered from the excavation sites of Harappa and Mohenjo-daro, several of which are terracotta figurines carved with dresses and ornaments. The dresses include draped clothing with patterns printed on them, closely clinging pants similar to modern-day dhotis, and even stitched clothing like cloaks, skirts, pants, and tunics. The female figurines are depicted wearing short or long skirts with quite a lot of jewelry. Some figures are also wearing sashes, similar to the current-day dupatta. The male figurines have been shown wearing a headdress similar to current-day turbans. Some of the male figurines are wearing a long cloth fastened in a way that is very similar to today's dhoti. Traces of cinnabar, an ore of mercury used to make face paint, sindoor, and lipstick, have been found, leading archaeologists to speculate about its possible use by the Harappans. Some figures had red ink in their hair, placed similarly to today's sindoor. When it was first discovered, evidence of red and indigo ink were found on the clothing carved on the statue of this Indus-era priest on the right. The priest's shawl is decorated with a trefoil design. This design has been used in many locations around the ancient world, especially in the Middle East in the middle of the 2nd millennium BCE. However, because the IBC had been before that, it is likely that the idea of the trefold design traveled from South Asia to Egypt and the Middle East. So as you can see, there is the funerary bed of King Tut, which also has this trefoil design. There were quite a few forehead adornments found in the excavations. They were gold, sheet-based, along with evidence of diverse materials used in jewelry making. There were metals such as gold, silver, copper, and bronze, stones like amazonite, quartz, lapis lazuli, turquoise, jade, agate, carnelian, selenite, and feldspar, and even common items like shells and seeds. The central ornament worn on the forehead of the famous priest-king sculpture of Mohenjo-daro, on the top right, represents an eye bead, possibly made of gold with a steatite inlay in the center. The well-known figure of the dancing girl of Mohenjo-daro, on the right, depicts a woman wearing a necklace with 3 pendants and multiple bangles. The statue of the mother goddess from the IBC indicates that women wore heavy earrings, necklaces, anklets, bangles, rings, and overhanging medallions studded with gemstones. As we've seen so far, plenty of archaeological artifacts have been discovered relating to the Indus Valley civilization. However, when it comes to Vedic, Ramayana, and Mahabharata periods, we have to rely solely on literary evidence. Reading through Vedic texts, there are countless references to clothing and fabric. We'll categorize these as follows. First, the early Vedic period, which includes the Rig Veda and is dated by most historians to be around 1500 to 1100 BCE. Then the later Vedic, which is made up by Samved, Yajurved, and Atharved, which have been placed at somewhere between 1200 BCE to 800 BCE. After that, we'll come to the epics, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. The Rig Veda mentions an upper body garment referred to as abhivas, and a lower body unstitched cloth known as vas. Weaving was already established at the time and was known as vaso vaya, with vaya used for male weaver and vaya for female weaver. There was also evidence of a headdress known as kurla. A gold chain ornament with a disc, rukma, was worn around the chest. Other pieces of jewelry such as kundal or earring, har, necklace, and anguliaka or ring were quite popular. Both men and women wore necklaces and bracelets. References to money or gemstones have also been found. The later Vedic period mentions garments made of various pieces, such as vavri for upper garment, opvasan as veil, kumba, a type of head ornament, and nidi, a piece of cloth wrapped around the waist. Robes or shamolya are also mentioned. Kambal is a blanket in Sanskrit as well as in Hindi today. Paridhan was a pleated lower garment worn with a belt called mekhla. The upper garment was called uttarya. Some words from the later Vedic period are also mentioned in the epic era, including nibi. However, it transforms into a skirt or sort of petticoat, and shamolya becomes a woolen shirt, while others such as kambal and upvita are being used in the same context. In the Ramayana, Ravan's corpse was dressed in sham, which is linen. The Ramayana mentions that Sita's trousseau included orna, furs, precious stones, and colorful silk, or kaushik vastra. The bride and groom's clothing was made of silk and had swan motifs woven into it. Valmiki Ramayana also depicts Sita as wearing gold and silk during her abduction, as seen in this quote, which roughly translates to, he, Ravan, approached Vaidehi, Sita, who was wearing yellow silk garments and had a complexion like the palash flower, with a joyful heart like the night. Linen has also been mentioned in the Mahabharata, as evident from this shlok. Valkalam yadivak shobam sharanam kapahasakam tatha achalanam bhavit tasya vastrartham pandu nandana. Additionally, silk fabric or kaushik vastra was gifted to Yudhishthira by the prince of the Himalayan kingdoms. Mani chitra vastra or printed fabric studded with gemstones has also been mentioned in the Mahabharata. Cotton was rarely mentioned in Vedic or Ramayana times. The Shatpat Brahman of Yajurved describes costumes worn during Vedic sacrifices. The upper body garment was made of pure, undyed wool, and the lower garment was made of silk, also known as tarpya. Linen, which was made of wild flax, has also been discussed in Vedic literature. It was specifically worn by young men during their Upanayan Samskar. In the Rig Veda Mandala 2, Maharshi Grihitsmat is said to be the first person to sew cotton, use a spinning wheel, and turn it into thread. Archaeological evidence of cotton fibers has been found at Mehrgarh of the Greater Indus area, dating back to about 9,000 years old. Evidence of Indian-grown cotton has been found from Israel dating back to 5200 BCE. Cotton was exported from India to ancient European civilizations such as the Greek and Roman civilizations in the first millennium BCE. In the 4th century BCE, Greek historian Herodotus wrote in his book Historia, "In India there are plants that produce sheep's wool." The land of Kambodge in present-day Afghanistan was famous for shawls made of wool and fleece, and he even gifted the Pandavas a cloth made of otter fleece. The Ramayana mentions carpets made of goat fleece as well. Several mentions can be found of wild animal skins as being worn by yogis and chieftains of tribes, or used as asan. The Shatpat Brahman uses the term ajinavasin to describe this, which means clothed in skin. Beige includes embroidered garments, ornaments, and decorations. Hiranya beige refers to a garment with gold thread embroidered into it, specifically associated with female dancers. Vaduya was a bridal dress referenced in the Ramayana. Upnana, or shoes, were made of dyed leather, boarskin, bamboo, palm leaves, and wood. The decorations on shoes were made of jewels, gold, silver, animal horns, peacock feathers, or dyed leather. Shoes were worn mostly by members of the military. Rigved and Atharved both mention body armor. Historians believe that chainmail armor was used by some noble warriors, covering their back, chest, and some lower parts of the body. This armor was called drapi, kawach, or varman. Comparing the Vedic and Epic time period with the IBC, we can clearly see that draped clothing was more common during the Vedic period, whereas stitched garments became more common during the IBC. Leather and animal skin garments were widely used in Vedic period, whereas cotton began to be used extensively during the IBC. The names used for various pieces of clothing in the Vedic period maintain a continuity into the epics as well. Therefore, we can clearly deduce that there was continuity between the Vedic and Epic periods. Although we lack archaeological evidence from the Vedic age, plenty of artifacts have been excavated from the IBC and greater Indus area. It is clearly evident that if the Vedas and epics were after the IBC, there would be a lot more archaeological evidence from the Vedic periods, instead of a huge abundance of archaeological evidence from the IBC and zero material evidence from the Vedic and epic periods. Unfortunately, the Indus Valley script has not been decoded yet, so we can't compare the clothing names with the current era, but we can notice visible similarities in the clothing styles of the IBC as compared to today. Dhoti, sindoor, shawl, bangles, necklaces, earrings, skirts, dresses, and tree floral designs are still used today. We have also found evidence of trade between India and ancient European cultures like Greece and Rome, as well as with the Middle East during the IBC. However, such trade relations are not mentioned in the Vedic or Epic periods. Although gold was the primary metal used in ornaments during the Vedic and Epic era, we do not find any mention of silver or bronze in Vedic texts. Conversely, these metals found an extensive usage along with gold during the IBC period. It is well known that silver was a later discovery than gold, furthering the point the Vedic period preceded the IBC. We can conclude from all these findings and comparative analysis that there is a noticeable continuity from the Vedic to the Epic periods and a significant continuity from the IBC to current times. This clearly points to an ambiguity and disagreement with the majority of historical sources who claim that the IBC predates the Vedic and Epic periods. This begs further research and an establishment of correct dates for the Vedas and the Epics. Looking at the textual clues about clothing and fabric, we can see that the Rigved predated the IBC by quite a few millennia, not the other way around, as claimed by an overwhelming number of historians. Therefore, we can clearly deduce that there was continuity between the Vedic and Epic periods. Thank you for listening to my presentation at today's conference. Your comments, critiques, and suggestions are appreciated. Dhanyawad.